The rain beat steadily against the classroom windows as students copied notes from the board. Outside, the sky was dark and heavy. Jonathan sat quietly at his desk, unable to concentrate. A strange feeling pressed deep inside him, warning that something was wrong. The teacher continued speaking, but the words sounded far away. The ticking clock felt louder than usual. Jonathan kept staring at the rain and bending trees, and his instincts told him that something bad was about to happen. When the final bell rang, students rushed out happily into the rain, but Jonathan walked slowly. The uneasy feeling followed him as he moved along the wet roadside toward home. Cars passed carefully through water-filled streets, headlights cutting through the gray afternoon. As he turned near his street, he noticed a large crowd gathered ahead. People stood close together, whispering and pointing. Some covered their mouths in shock while others struggled to see what had happened. Jonathan felt his heart begin to race. He moved closer, gently pushing through the crowd, confused and worried. Then he saw it. A badly crushed car had collided with a large bus. The front of the vehicle was completely destroyed. Jonathan froze as recognition struck him instantly. It was his parents' car. His school bag slipped from his shoulder into the muddy water. Panic filled him. He rushed forward, shouting for his parents, but onlookers held him back to keep him safe. Through broken glass and twisted metal, he saw his mother and father bleeding heavily, unconscious and unmoving. He screamed their names as tears mixed with rain on his face. Sirens suddenly filled the air as ambulances arrived. Paramedics worked quickly, pulling his parents from the wreckage and placing oxygen masks over their faces. One rescuer said they were still alive, giving Jonathan a small piece of hope. The ambulance doors closed and the vehicles sped toward the hospital. Jonathan stood shaking beside the road until a neighbor, Mr. Rafiki, gently guided him away and took him home. That evening Jonathan waited anxiously, barely eating supper. After they finished their meal, the phone rang. Mr. Rafiki answered, listened silently, then slowly lowered the receiver. The doctors had tried their best, but Jonathan's parents had died from their injuries. Jonathan broke down completely, crying through the night until the bed sheet beneath him was soaked with tears. A few days later, the burial took place under a quiet gray sky. 2 coffins lay side by side as relatives and neighbors gathered in silence. Jonathan stood between them, holding a flower with trembling hands, struggling to understand how his life had changed so suddenly. As the coffins were lowered into the ground, reality settled in. He was now alone. With no relatives left in the city, arrangements were made for him to move to the countryside to live with his grandmother, Mama Naema, the only family he had remaining. The journey felt long as buildings disappeared and open land replaced busy streets. He arrived at Amani village, a quiet place surrounded by trees and farmland. The village was peaceful during the day but strangely silent at night. People avoided walking after dark and spoke carefully whenever the nearby forest was mentioned. Mama Naema welcomed Jonathan warmly and cared for him with love and prayer. Slowly, he adjusted to village life. He remained disciplined and hardworking, helping farmers repair tools, organizing study groups for children, and introducing simple ideas he had learned in the city. His intelligence and respectful character quickly earned the trust of the villagers, and hope slowly began to return to the community. Deep inside the dark forest lived a witch named Kabaya. She hated progress because success weakened her power. Whenever someone began to improve their life, strange misfortune followed. Crops failed, sickness appeared, and opportunities disappeared. Fear gave Kabaya strength, and she guarded it fiercely. When she sensed the growing admiration surrounding Jonathan, anger filled her heart. She decided that the boy's success must end before it changed the village forever. Years passed and Jonathan prepared seriously for his primary examinations. Every evening he studied under a small lamp while Mama Naema prayed quietly nearby. When the results were finally announced, the entire village gathered at the school. The head teacher proudly declared that Jonathan had achieved outstanding results, ranking among the best students in the region. Celebration filled Amani village. People cheered, elders blessed him, and hope spread everywhere. But deep in the forest, Kabaya watched with burning jealousy. That night, after celebrations ended and Jonathan slept peacefully, Kabaya performed a powerful ritual. Dark energy traveled silently toward his home, entering through the window as cold air filled the room. Just before the curse reached him, a warm golden light appeared. Two gentle figures stood beside the sleeping boy, his parents. Their spirits prayed silently, surrounding him with protection. The dark magic struck an invisible barrier and stopped. The energy trembled, then suddenly reversed direction. Back in the forest, Kabaya screamed as the curse returned to her. Her head began to swell painfully, a third eye opened on her forehead, and a third ear grew from her head. Every sickness and suffering she had sent to others rushed back into her body. She felt the pain of every victim she had harmed. Unable to carry the weight of her own evil, she collapsed as her power shattered completely. Kabaya died, and at that same moment, peace spread across Amani village. The air felt lighter the next morning. Sick people recovered, crops grew stronger, and fear disappeared. The village was finally free. Soon after, education officials arrived with life-changing news. Because of his excellent performance and discipline, Jonathan had been awarded a full scholarship to study abroad. The village celebrated again, proud of the boy who had brought hope back to their lives. On the day of departure, Jonathan stood at the airport beside Mama Naema, holding his travel bag. Airplanes moved across the runway as passengers prepared to board. His grandmother held his hands tightly, her eyes filled with pride and emotion. She blessed him and encouraged him to go and shine. Jonathan promised that when success opened its doors for him, he would return and support her. When boarding was announced, he walked toward the airplane, then turned back and waved. Mama Naema waved back, smiling through tears. The plane lifted into the sky, carrying Jonathan toward a future filled with opportunity. Below him, Amani village lived in peace at last, and the love of his parents continued to guide him, proving that even after deep loss, grace can lead a life toward light, hope, and new beginnings.